Minister Hoon, after the UN Security Council resolution, Kosovo will be in the spotlight. What would you advise, what are the priorities that the leaders in Kosovo should be accomplishing in the first 120 days after this resolution?
The international community's absolute commitment to Kosovo is one of securing its stability. That has been the reason why, ever since troops first went there, to prevent ethnic cleansing, to restore order, to allow Kosovo to develop in the way that I'm delighted to see it has. Let's not anticipate just yet the results of the UN process, because obviously it has not yet concluded. But clearly we want to see progress. That progress must lead to stability.
But how important is Kosovo's status to Europe and Britain?
I think it's irretrievably linked to that question of stability. It's important because what is vital is that we do not return to the disorder, to the violence, to the killing that we saw so recently in what is an important part of the European continent.
Are you looking for quick resolution of the Kosovo status?
I don't think it's helpful at this stage to impose any kind of a time limit on this. There is a process underway internationally. It's important that all countries have the opportunity of expressing their views. It's important that we have that debate, but we accept at the same time that it's important that this does not drag on indefinitely, because obviously it is about the people on the ground in Kosovo, their future, their hopes, their aspirations, and we want them to have the clarity that necessarily follows from the process that we have been engaged in.
So when are we likely to see the end to this process?
Well, again, I repeat the answer I've just given you. I don't think it's sensible to impose an artificial timescale. We would like that to be soon. We think that's in the interests of everyone in Kosovo. But frankly, this is a process. We've had a very good process so far involving a number of countries, some with quite different views from our own. And it's important that the international community does proceed as best we can by consensus.
Would you say we'd have something by the end of this year?
Again, I just don't think it's sensible. I hope soon is a sufficient expression of our ambition for this process.
You are a Minister for Europe in UK. Can you compensate for Europe's hesitancy in having a determined, clear view on Kosovo and its support or not for the independence or not? Are you in such a position?
I simply don't agree with the use of the word hesitancy. As I've said, different countries, for all sorts of sometimes domestic reasons, have a different perspective on the situation in Kosovo, but all are committed to the idea and the importance of ensuring that whatever solution does emerge guarantees the stability of Kosovo. We're all shared in that ambition, not least those countries that from time to time have had soldiers there risking their lives sometimes in order to ensure that Kosovo has a secure and stable future. So hesitancy, I think, is quite the wrong word.
How would you describe then Europe's position at the moment on Kosovo? How would you describe it if not hesitant?
The European Union has remained absolutely united in its determination to see a secure and stable future for Kosovo, as I say.
How is the mood in Brussels?
Well, if you'll allow me, a number of those European countries have committed their forces. They've risked the lives of men and women going to Kosovo to help other people, and I think it's important that we reflect sometimes the diversity of opinion in the international community, but as far as the European Union is concerned, that is simply not the case. We have remained absolutely united in our commitment to Kosovo and will remain so.
And what is Britain's position, particularly Britain's position on Kosovo at the moment?
Well, we have set out very clearly our view. I did so in a debate quite recently in the House of Commons. We have supported very strongly the Ahtisaari process. I've seen him regularly. We're part of the contact group. We've argued clearly for the support that he has received internationally, and we will go on giving that support ourselves.
Do you support Kosovo's independence?
I think ultimately the report that he has set out leads in that direction, but I don't think we should anticipate the results of the
Why not?
process.
What's wrong with anticipating?
Well, if you'll allow me to finish answering your question. It's important that we set in motion a process. The international community have so far been united in their approach. I think it's important that we should continue as best we can, as I've said already, with consensus. There may well be at certain stages a difference of timing, a different emphasis. The European Union's remained united. The UK has been an important voice in that process, and I think it's right that we should allow the process to reach its conclusion and not anticipate it.
Is this because Europe wants to slowly bring Russia to the idea of supporting Ahtisaari's package? And can you explain to the audience who will be watching this, is nervous about Russia claiming it will maybe use the veto in the Security Council? Is this bluffing, or is Russia trying to raise the stakes? What should people be nervous about this delay, and particularly Russia's hesitancy?
What's actually important is that we should use this process to secure the long-term stability and security of Kosovo.
What does that mean?
Sometimes, well, I'm going to try and explain to you. Sometimes rushing ahead with these kinds of decisions without taking the international community along can lead to further problems in the future. And that's why we have established a process, why we've agreed, for example, for a mission to go to Kosovo, why we accept that there needs to be a discussion in the Security Council, why we will work towards a resolution, why we believe that it's right that we should try and achieve that as best we can through consensus. It's a process. By engaging in that process internationally, I believe we best secure the long-term outcome in terms of security and stability for Kosovo.
EU will take over some fields of administering Kosovo after UNMIK finishes its mission. Why do you think it's going to do better than the UN mission in Kosovo?
UNMIK has done a tremendous job and has been extremely successful in this phase of Kosovo's development. And anyone like me who's been from time to Kosovo has seen the tremendous improvement that has been made, and UNMIK has fostered that. We believe that we're now moving into a different stage as far as Kosovo is concerned. The skills, the requirements of UNMIK perhaps are less necessary. Some of the skills that the EU can bring to bear, I think, will be helpful. This is part of Europe. It's a European responsibility, and I believe it's right that the EU should step up to the plate and take its share of what is taking place there.
But EU is good at transforming, not administering. Would you agree there?
On the contrary, I think you'll find the European Union administers, or helps to administer, a very large area with some 460 million citizens. So I wouldn't accept that for a moment, no.
So are you interested, EU, do you imagine this mission will be basically running some parts of administration in Kosovo? How do you imagine to be the role of this future mission?
I think he will be engaged in providing help and assistance in particular areas. I think it remains to be seen what those areas are in detail, but I don't anticipate that it will be an operation as comprehensive as UNMIK was, because clearly what we're looking for, more and more responsibility being carried out by Kosovans themselves. That must be the long-term future for Kosovo.
What are the lessons you will take from EU's experience in Bosnia and Macedonia? What you would like to avoid, and what would you like to take on?
Well, in each of those areas we have sought the same things: security for the people, stability, and long-term constitutional arrangements that ensure that that security and stability is not challenged in the future. I don't think beyond that it's necessarily the case that comparisons can be particularly helpful. In each case, the international community has worked hard to bring about a better situation. It certainly succeeded in each of those cases. But obviously there are different problems in Bosnia-Herzegovina than there are in Macedonia, than there are again in Kosovo. But our ambition is the same in each case.
You visited Serbia in February. How long do you think it will take them to come around? For example, they didn't like Montenegro becoming independent, but they accepted it afterwards. From the conversations you had with the leaders there, what's the feeling you got, basically? Would they accept whatever terms come from this agreement?
I think we all understand why this is a difficult problem for Serbia. As you say, why Montenegro was a difficult problem.
But it wasn't afterwards.
Well, these are historic questions as far as the people of Serbia are concerned, and I hope that we can find a way in which they could become reconciled to any change of status.
People of the Balkans are being prepared eventually to enter the EU. Do you think that actually they are being prepared for maybe something that the public in the European states is growing more and more skeptical of? Or will countries of the Balkans eventually, do you see them? Is your vision, do you see them in the EU?
I've made clear on all of my visits to the Balkans that our ambition for the Balkans and indeed for the European Union is to see all those with a European ambition able to succeed in that, provided they carry through the necessary reforms and changes. And I think the progress we've seen in Croatia, obviously, in Macedonia, but indeed in other parts of the Balkans, leads me to believe that certainly it is possible. It does depend on the individual countries themselves making the necessary reforms.
What would you say to the critics who basically would point out that at the moment, just now, 10 days ago, America organized a conference where, with the Kosovo leaders, planning the first 120 days, planning the roadmap. This wasn't organized by Europe. It was, again, organized by America. America is taking the lead in pushing for Kosovo's maybe independence. What would you say to the critics who think that Europe is, again, failing to take the lead on this case?
I'd invite them to go and visit that range of countries that have recently joined the European Union, starting most recently, obviously, with Romania and Bulgaria, but going through a range of countries, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Slovenia, countries that have fundamentally reformed in order to be members of the European Union. No one who's a greater admirer of the United States than I am. The United States cannot create the conditions in which countries in the Balkans can join the European Union. That's a matter for the countries themselves, but ultimately, of course, it's a matter for the European Union.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.